Let's learn the has pseudo-class. Let's begin with its definition. The has pseudo-class selects an element if it contains certain elements that match a given selector passed as an argument. This pseudo-class helps selecting a parent element or previous sibling element. Let's say we have this HTML tree structure. We have A as a parent and A, B, C as its child elements. In HTML, the flow only goes top to bottom. That means in CSS selector, we cannot select the element following the reverse order of the HTML tree. Let's imagine that we want to select the A element when there is a B element existing as a child element. In that case, we cannot write the selector this way because there is no way we can select elements in the reverse order like this. Then you might be wondering, is there any way we can select the parent element based on the condition of the child element? And yes, we can achieve it using the has pseudo-class. The has pseudo-class was introduced to exactly solve the problem of selecting the parent element based on the child element. So we are going to see other use cases of the has pseudo-class later, but let's talk about the has selector and understand how it works. So we are targeting the A element when it has B element. So in this case, since there is a B element under the A element, this A element will be selected. Let's take a look at another example of the sibling elements. So here we have 5 elements, A, B, A, C, B. Now, if our aim is to select the A element, if it has the direct sibling of B element, we can use the has pseudo-class with adjacent sibling combinator. So here, we are trying to target the A element, so this A element or this A element, if they have the direct child of the B element. So B element is this one and this one. But only this A element has the direct child of the B element here, so this A element will be selected. Great! Now, let's talk about the OR and the logical operations. So in programming language, it's quite common to use either OR and to select or query results. Let's talk about the OR first. Imagine we have 2 HTML tree structure here. Both have A as the parent element, and the first one has the A, B, C as child element, and then the second one has A, D, E as child elements. Our goal here is to see if the parent element contains either A or D as child elements, and if so, we will select the A element as the parent element. So, in this case, the first one has A as a child element, and then the second one has A and D as child elements, so both A element will be selected from this has pseudo-class. Now, let's take a closer look at this selector with the has pseudo-class. So, we provide A and D as argument values for the has pseudo-class and comma separated. So this argument will check if it has either A, so this one and this one, or D element, which is this one. Now the arrow should go to here as well, but for the second one, let's focus on this D for now. So with this has pseudo-class, it will select both parent A element, as both A element contain either A or D elements. This is how the OR operator works with the has pseudo-class. Now, let's discuss the AND operator. Again, we have the same 2 HTML tree structure here. And this time, our goal is to check if the parent element contains both A and C elements. And if so, we will select the A parent element. To write the AND operator, we can chain the has pseudo-class like this. So the first has a pseudo class will check if it has the A element, like here. And the next has a pseudo class checks if it has the C element, like this one. And finally, it will select the A element, which contains both A and C element as child elements. The order of chaining doesn't really matter, so having has a C followed by the has A will still produce the same result. So when we compare both OR and AND operations, to use the OR operator, we pass element as arguments of the has pseudo class with a comma separated. To use the AND operator, we chain the has pseudo class for each element we want to check. This is how we can use the OR AND operations with has pseudo class. Now, let's talk about the forgiving selector list. Just like not pseudo class we learned in the last video, the has pseudo class itself is not providing a forgiving selector list, but it can handle it. So let's revisit what I mean by that. Let's see, we have these two tree structures. This selector with this has pseudo class will select this parent A element. However, if any unsupported selector is added to the has pseudo class, the entire block will fail, so the parent A element will no longer be selected. To improve this, we can use either the is or where pseudo class. So this is an example of using the is pseudo class inside the argument of the has pseudo class, and it will select the A element again. As we learned in the previous video, if we wanted to lower the specificity, we can use the where pseudo class instead of the is pseudo class here. Awesome! Now, let's talk about the specificity. The specificity for the has pseudo class works similarly to is and not pseudo classes. So it follows the most specific selector in the arguments. So, here are examples in the table. Let's take a look at the first one. We have has pseudo class with the ID, class, and type element as arguments. In this case, the specificity will be 1, 0, 0 because it follows the most specific selector in the arguments, which is the ID. Let's take a look at the next example. This time, we are chaining the has pseudo class with the class B, C elements as the arguments. With this AND operations of the selector, what would be the specificity? So, as we just discussed here, the first has pseudo class will be 1, 0, 0. And the second has pseudo class is 0, 1, 0. So combining together will be 1, 1, 0. Cool. Now, with the is pseudo class, the specificity will still follow the most specific selector, which is the ID. So it will be 1, 0, 0. But changing the is pseudo class to where pseudo class will lower the specificity to 0, 0, 0. Great! I hope this table gives you a good understanding of how the specificity works in different scenarios. Alright, let's head over to CodePen and practice writing the has pseudo class.